Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 315, What to Do When Something Goes Wrong. Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. So we're still very early in 2025. As a matter of fact, it's only January 21st as I'm recording this podcast. And I'm just asking a question to all of you listeners. Has something gone wrong for you this year? Have you gotten some unexpected news, plans canceled, things not delivered on time, a coworker who made a mistake that causes a lot of problems, your husband, your spouse, your kids? What has gone wrong? Just think about it for a minute. I'm guessing you have a few examples, yeah? A few things that have gone wrong. And I just want to remind you that this is life, right? All of our best laid plans usually don't go as planned, right? There's always something that comes up. And so I think I've been talking about this with my friends. It's like we need to have, first of all, more accommodation for these things that go wrong, because they do, right? No matter how well we plan or how we think something will go, things don't go exactly as planned most of the time, right? And so if we have ourselves so tightly scheduled or so tightly planned, and we don't allow for things to go wrong or for things to need to be readjusted, we cause ourselves a lot of anxiety and unnecessary suffering, right? Because we've laid out our day-to-day lives so tightly that we can't afford life to happen. Okay, that's how my life felt before life coaching. I call before coaching BC and after coaching AC. So BC in Angela's life was I felt like I was walking on a tightrope. And everything was lined up exactly the way it needed to be. And then if something happened, something unexpected happened, like somebody got sick or my husband couldn't pick up the kids or something like that, everything would become unraveled. That's what it felt like. It felt like everything was completely out of my control. It was overwhelming. It would spin me out, and then I would drink. And I held on so tightly, I gripped on so tightly to things going exactly how I had them planned, okay? And that came down to when the garbage got taken out, or how we cleaned up the kitchen, or how we got the kids ready for school in the morning, or when my husband would come home from work. Like if he was like 10 or 15 minutes late, I would freak out because it wasn't according to the schedule, okay? So I just want you to kind of notice, how do you have your life set up? Is it so tightly scheduled that things have to be perfect? And then when things don't go perfectly, it's like, it just feels like it becomes unraveled. If so, we got to make some adjustments to that. Okay. All right. You need some support probably, first of all, and we need to unwire and unwind some of these reasons why we have it so scheduled so tightly. I didn't need to do that, right? It just felt like that's where things were because, I had 3 kids, very young. My husband and I were working full time. We each traveled. So like if my husband was traveling and I was at work, right, I still had to get everybody to school and pick them up and all the things. And like if some little thing fell out of line, it all became unraveled. And that was pretty much a story I was telling myself too. Nothing actually terribly happened. It was just my internal systems that fell out of control, right? My anxiety would skyrocket, my overwhelm would shoot up, right? And then I would react from those feelings and then would probably cause more problems than I needed to have. Like I would overdrink, right? And then I wouldn't sleep well, and then I would wake up late, and then you know where I'm going with this? Like, and then it would get worse from there, because then I would be behind on things, right? So anyway, I just wanted to ask that of you, because this week's topic is about when things go wrong, which they always will and always will be until that we take our last breath in life. Okay, things will always just not go as we think that they should, or we have planned for. And so I think we need to start building some space around that and allowing things to maybe take longer. So if you're starting out on your journey this year to really dive into your relationship with alcohol, and you're really focusing on it, and that's like your number one thing, and you think it should only take 3 months, let's double that time. If you think it should take 6 months, let's double it. If you think it should take a year, let's double it. Let's give yourself a really long runway. If you have weight loss goals, let's double those. If you want to train for a half marathon, let's give yourself a year instead of 6 months or 3 months. Okay? What would happen if we gave ourselves more time? Right? It would allow for more ease into our behavior change. It would allow us to take the pressure off of ourselves. And when things go wrong, it's not a catastrophe, right? So just consider that. But today I really want to dive into what to do if something does go wrong. Okay? So, I mean, there's so many stories I could share about something going wrong. For instance, I was leading a retreat in December, this past December in Cancun, and I hurt myself. I dropped a very heavy water bottle, a metal water bottle that was probably, 45 ounces of water plus a metal water bottle. And I was sitting down as we were going on an excursion, and the water bottle fell out of my backpack and it smashed the tip of my finger. So bad so that my fingernail popped out and there was blood everywhere, and we had to get off the boat. The boat hadn't left yet, but we had to get off the boat. The people were like, you need to go to the hospital and your friends need to go with you. So we had to adjust in real time. And so I had to go to the Mexican hospital emergency room and get a procedure where they put my fingernail back in and then sewed it on. Okay, I'll spare you of the gory details of that and how excruciating painful that was. But that was definitely something that I didn't plan for, right? Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that the retreat leader would be in the hospital in a foreign country on a retreat that she was leading, okay? But things happen, right? And where our power is how we react to those things. Okay, so today I want you to see the power of pausing and why it's a transformational tool to help you stay focused on what's really important for you, for your family, to whoever is involved in this situation. So, in the past, I would have, if I wouldn't have been leading a sober retreat in the first place in the past. Like, that didn't even exist in my consciousness of possibilities. Let me just remind you. But in the past, if I was on a vacation and something like that happened, oh, you can be sure that drama would ensue. I would have been like, the vacation is ruined, blah, blah, blah. I for sure would have been drinking to make sure I didn't have any pain when I was sleeping at night. And it would have completely set and ruined the tone for our trip. And I would have, blamed it all on somebody else and blah, 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 right? Or been really mad at myself for that. And it would have affected the outcome of that trip for sure. But I also want to kind of get into why we react the ways that we do. So our brains are wired to react very quickly when we feel discomfort. Stress, fear, worry, right? We have that flight, fight, or freeze response. I've talked about this before, right? So these automatic responses when our brain feels discomfort. It's sort of like this automatic thing that happens. So these automatic reactions often come from some unprocessed emotions that we have or deeply ingrained patterns. So if you've responded to unexpected things or difficult things in a similar fashion throughout your life, then that's a deeply ingrained pattern. And a lot of times we can respond to things because of trauma in our past too. But generally, I'm talking about just ways that we've responded to unexpected things that, you can identify easily. So some common reactions when something goes wrong is blaming, right? It's easy to blame somebody else, right? That's probably the easiest thing and the quickest thing that a lot of us do. We might avoid, right? We might not do anything. We might not want to look at it, right? A lot of times when we overdrink, like that's kind of something that is unexpected or unplanned. We don't plan to have a terrible overdrink, right? That's something that happens, and it's not something we want to happen. It goes kind of off what our goals are here, right? And so instead of looking at that, we might avoid looking at that. Okay. Or we might snap at somebody or do something really rash, like send a nasty email or yell at somebody or slam a door or cancel plans or something like that, right? So these are some common reactions when something goes wrong. So I just want to highlight that how some of those immediate reactions, those common reactions to these feelings when things go wrong, can escalate the problem, right? Or lead to regret. So you might say something that, you didn't need to say, right? So sometimes if we don't pause and we say something or send an email or react to another person in a sharp way, that can cause problems down the line, right? That might block an opportunity for connection with that person, or for you to be able to learn from that person in the future, or rely on them for help in the future based on how you react to this specific thing, right? If you drink, obviously that's going to escalate into a bigger problem in the future, like even tomorrow, if you overdrink in response to something difficult today, right? You're going to not sleep well and you're going to wake up pissed off at yourself. So it's like you're amplifying a problem, you're creating a problem that didn't exist, right? Or you could lead, your response could lead to regret, right? And then you doubting yourself, and then you're delaying going and getting going again, especially around the over drinking, because you can't trust yourself, right? So these immediate reactions can cause bigger problems than the unexpected thing in the first place. Are you following me? So that's what I want you to really recognize is the cost of reacting without pausing. There's a cost to that. And usually it's not like a good thing. It causes more harm than good. So I want to talk now about the power of the pause. I actually have another podcast called The Power of the Pause that you should listen to. I think it's in the 100 episodes. But really what it means to pause is something happens. Okay, so something unexpected happens. Instead of doing something, you pause. You just stop. You create a small amount of space between what happened and how you respond. The power of the pause. Okay, this is where your power lies. So pausing doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing your feelings. It's all about actually awareness and getting clear about how you want to respond based on what is helpful or not. Okay, so the benefit of pausing, it allows you to connect with yourself and name how you feel. Everybody who wants to permanently make changes with their behaviors with alcohol needs to work on pausing and processing their feelings, because our feelings drive our behavior. They drive our actions. So this pause allows you to stop, notice, and process, the SNP that I talk about so much, right? So that pause when you feel the upsetness, whatever feeling comes in, right? Something unexpected happens. How do you feel? Feeling agitated. I'm angry. I'm upset, right? Whatever it is, you have an emotion, right? So you just stop and you notice that. And then you take a few deep breaths, and that's the processing, right? You allow that feeling to be noticed and felt and processed in your body, okay? That helps you break the automatic cycle. And sometimes just that minute of that pause will be so helpful for you to think clearly how you want to react next, right? And oftentimes when unexpected things happen, I find after practicing this now going on 7 years, is that a lot of times I don't need to do anything. A lot of times the problem gets solved on its own, which is beautiful, right? The universe kind of just takes care of it. I don't need to really get involved, right? So this is also looking at, we're backing up to what I was talking about initially when I first started talking on this episode, is like, I don't need to control everything, I can just let things shake out the way that they need to shake out. And things don't need to look exactly the way I think they should. I'm not the ultimate person in charge of all the things. At least I don't want to be. It's a lot to carry, right? So stop, notice, and process. You want to shift the focus from reaction to what you need to do, if anything. So take a deep breath, name the feeling, right? Label it: frustration, fear, overwhelm, anxiety, pissed, angry, rage, right? Ask yourself, after you take a few breaths and you allow that feeling, what do I need right now? What do I actually want to do about this? And just listen to yourself. A lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to hear yourself, nothing. I don't need to do anything right now. Can I just wait and see, right? So decide then, after you let it be for a minute. If it's something big, like a big interruption, something big, unexpected happens, your feelings may not subside right away. You may give yourself that moment to stop, notice, and process, and you might be really upset for valid reasons. All of your feelings are valid, no matter how big the issue is or whatever. All of your feelings are valid, and they might linger for a bit. Okay, I just want to remind you that when emotions are high, our intelligence is actually quite low. So problem solving, when you're feeling really emotional or emotionally triggered, you're probably not going to find the best solution. So give yourself more time, maybe 24 hours, right? Does this need to be solved right now? Is this an emergency? That's a really good question. I ask myself that daily. Okay. I am somebody that takes a lot of action. I'm quick to act. I don't like to wait. I don't have a lot of patience. And so I want to get things resolved, right? I want to get things moving. I want to make progress on things. And so I really have to take a beat. It's not natural for me to do that. And it might not be natural for you to either. But for a lot of you guys who are like me, who are high achievers, who are goal oriented, who, have a lot of different things going on in their lives, it's difficult to do this. I just want to acknowledge that. It's a skill that you need to learn how to do. The more I practice it, the more I do it, the more power I have and the less problems I have. And so that motivates me to give it a minute, to give it a wait, right? Give people the benefit of the doubt. Give them some time to respond, whatever it is. Okay? And then when you feel a little bit more neutral, it might be in an hour, it might be tomorrow. Decide how you want to do it. Decide what's really important after you've kind of given yourself some space away from the initial issue, the unexpected thing that happened. Okay? So this week, I want you to practice this. I want you to practice pausing in some not big deals, right? So maybe your kid says something, backtalks to you, and normally you're like, don't talk to me that way. Just pause. If your husband or spouse or wife says something to you that you don't like, could you pause? If a coworker annoys you or grinds you or doesn't deliver something in the way that you think it should be delivered, can you pause? These are kind of considered low stake ways to practice this, little things throughout your day. Instead of just going into your automatic behavior and reacting and saying something snap quick, right? Can you give yourself a minute, just a minute, to notice how you feel? Take a breath, interrupt that automatic cycle, start to build on this. Okay. A lot of times if it's something big and you're just like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know how I want to respond. Journaling would be a great exercise. Getting coaching if you're in one of my programs. Talking to a friend. What do you think? What are your ideas? Get out of, get a different perspective outside of your own head, right? And how you normally react to things. Sometimes often just setting reminders to pause throughout the day. I like to think about the whole habit stacking idea, right? So like before you eat, could you put in a pause instead of just eating, right? And not thinking about it? Could you stop and smell your food and slow down and pause and think things through, right? And when you practice these sort of low stake things, then it gets easier to not respond to the bigger ones. I promise you. And when you practice these things in the lower stake ones and the bigger stake ones, that pause, right? Giving yourself that time will help you live a more even life. You will have less things to manage on the backside because a lot of times you don't have to do anything in what I'm talking about here. And other times you do. Other times you need to get going on stuff, right? You get to look at that with a more clear set of eyes and more clear intentions when your emotions aren't involved, okay? When something unexpected happens, your emotions rise, okay? And if you give yourself a pause and recognize that happening, okay, I am feeling angry right now. What I really want to do is punch him in the throat. You can say that to yourself, but I'm not going to do it, right? I got some nasty emails the other day, like people swearing at me that I have the audacity to charge for my services. Like they were swearing at me about it. And I even told, like I was reading them and I told my family, I really will just want to respond F you too, but I'm not going to. But just naming it, like what do I want to do and what am I not going to do? Naming it can feel good. That can feel cathartic, right? It can feel good to think about responding and just not doing it. That's very, very powerful. Okay, and it gets you out of the automatic behavior. Please don't send me nasty emails. Chances are I won't respond to them. Sometimes I can't help myself, and I will. I hope you're not on the receiving end of that, though. So think about it. Pause, reflect. How do you want to be treated, right? How would you want to be treated if something unexpected happens or if somebody made a mistake, right? Can you give some people some grace? If people aren't involved or some sort of external circumstance, plans change, something gets canceled, blah, blah, blah. Pause, breathe. How does this affect you, right? If you just give yourself a moment to take a break, journal your feelings. If it's something bigger than that, talk to somebody, get coaching, you know the drill. All right, my friends, and we're on the final countdown to join the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living coaching program, where I will give you direct guidance in this. We evaluate what happens. Listen, you're not going to get this perfectly. You're going to try to pause, and maybe you're going to make a mistake, and you're not going to do it how you think you should have. Learning from that experience, like, okay, so what can I do differently next time? We do this together inside Stop Over Drinking and Start Living. You have different perspectives. You have a professional coach who knows how to do this, who can help you through this. I've coached thousands of women to interrupt their automatic behaviors, and then they drink less, they start living more, they start having better relationships, they start achieving their goals faster because they're not being stalled out, but by their automatic behaviors that come from their feelings. All right, my friends, there's power in it. So if you want to join, registration closes on January 31st. So you have exactly 10 days from the recording of this podcast to apply. The URL is www.angelamascenik.com/join SODSL. You read through, you apply, I'll review it, I'll get back to you within 24 hours, and then you'll be in, and we all go through the exercises together. Every month we have a workbook and videos and 2 coaching calls a week and a private community that's off social media. It's a very small group of women who are wanting to do this work, who want to take charge of themselves and not be so reactive to things. We all have shit going on, and how you react to things will move you forward or keep you stuck. I promise it's a big part of it. So I would love to have you inside Stop Over Drinking and Start Living. So go to that link, angelamascenik.com/join SODSL, and I will see you there. All right, my friends, I hope you have good luck pausing this week and slowing down and deciding how you want to react to things. Mwah! Talk to you next week. Bye.